Welcome to the Forefront 5. I'm your host, Dr. Betsy Worley, and today we finish our journey on the Forefront 5 to become better leaders. And as we know, we've focused on how to lead in life, in clinic, and more since January of this year. And today I'm really excited about our special guests that you see on your screen today. They know a thing or two about leading clinics, dermatology clinics in particular. Leading a clinic full of staff with different interests, personalities, and needs is a challenging job day in, day out. So we've handpicked some of our superstars from the clinics of Forefront, team leads, who deal with not only the tough doctors, I can say that because I'm a doctor, PAs, NPs, but also the staff. Let's first dive in by introducing this beautiful group of ladies. Tell us a little bit about yourself and tell us what song regarding leadership you chose for the Forefront 5. Wendy Dale from North Carolina, why don't you start?
Hi, so I work in the Goldsboro, North Carolina clinic primarily. I've been a medical assistant for 21 years. Started out with Dr. Jennings in Goldsboro in 2012 and was able to work with him through his merger with Forefront. And in June of 2018, he merged his practice with Forefront Dermatology. In January of 2019, I became the team lead for the Goldsboro Clinic. And then most recently in January of this year, I became the regional clinic coordinator for North Carolina.
Awesome.
I've been married to my husband, Michael, for about 19 years. And we have 3 children. We have a 17-year-old son, a 16-year-old daughter, and a 6-year-old son.
How about your song, Wendy?
So my motivational song is "It's My Life" by Bon Jovi.
Why?
It's kind of a cool song. I go to that song just because, you know, if you listen to the lyrics, it is my life, and I get to choose what I do in life. Nobody chooses that for me.
That's a true leader perspective. I love it. And our listeners will appreciate we're all over the nation as evidenced by Wendy's fantastic Southern accent. So welcome, Wendy. Let's move on. Jessica Newcomb is from Missouri. Jessica, tell us about yourself.
Well, I am the team lead for the Webster Groves Clinic in Missouri. I started in 2014 with St. Louis Dermatology and Dr. Yoon's group, and we merged with Forefront in September of 2015. Since then, things have been a whirlwind of fun. I started there as a receptionist. I moved up to front office supervisor and then kind of assistant team lead, and then moved out to the South City Clinic in St. Louis. And then we moved to Webster Groves and got a Mohs surgeon. So just kind of climbed the chain there. I've held several titles, as I mentioned, receptionist, and then kind of moving up. I have a 9-year-old son, James. He makes life amazing. And yeah, I just kind of, I'm not a medical assistant. I have a bachelor's degree in healthcare management and certified through Dermatology Tech, ACDT. I enjoy hiking, watching my son play sports. My motivational song is Good Morning by Max Frost. And I kind of, it's fun, upbeat. I don't know if anybody's ever heard it. If not, give it a listen. It's pretty great. But it's kind of just upbeat, makes you want to wiggle a little bit, and it's really got a good message as far as like shake off yesterday's blues, you know, just good morning. The rest of my life is going to start today. So
vital for maintaining sanity in dermatology clinics. That's awesome.
Yes.
Let's go on to Crystal Laabs from Appleton area, just up the road from me. Crystal, welcome. Tell us about yourself.
So I've been with Forefront for the last 12 years almost now, previously Dermatology Associates of Wisconsin. And I've been the team lead in Appleton for the last 9 years and became a regional clinic coordinator and a team lead trainer about a few years ago because I love helping out new team leads. So I do most of the training for all the new team leads in the company. I have 3 boys. They keep me busy. One's 23, one's 19, and one's 11. The song I chose was The Climb by Miley Cyrus because it's all about knowing that there will be times you don't succeed, not just professionally, but also personally. And you just got to keep pushing through and dreaming so you can kind of move on and keep going.
100%. That was one of my songs for the retreat when we talked about climbing our summits. So good pick
Yeah.
there. Emily Sweeney from Louisville, tell us about yourself.
Hi, my name is Emily. I am the team lead for the Louisville, Kentucky, and Jeffersonville, Indiana offices, which supports Dr. Jackson, Dr. Moy, Dr. O'Brien, Dr. Rickett, Dr. Daggett, and our nurse practitioner, Danny Hawes. I joined Forefront in 2015, right during the merge of when we were derm specialists going into Forefront. So it's a little chaotic, but since then, in 2016, I transitioned over to the team lead position, which has been a lot of fun. I've been a nurse for about 7 years now, so patient care is very important to me. So it's been fun being able to be a working team lead and still get to see patients and enjoy that part of the clinic. And I have been married to my best friend for 5 years now. We have 2 little girls, 2 and 4 years old, so they keep me pretty busy. When I'm not busy at work, I feel like I'm pretty busy at home, so it's fun.
Awesome. And tell us your favorite song for leadership.
Yes, so my leadership, I chose kind of more of like a motivational song. I chose Keep Your Head Up by Andy Grammer. It just reminds me that everything works out in the end, not to stress too much and just enjoy your life.
100%. Awesome. Rebecca Hibma from the Michigan area. Rebecca, tell us about your ride with Forefront.
Yeah, it's been a great ride. I started with the company back in 2016 or 15, I think, in the Grand Rapids, Michigan clinic. Just working kind of part-time on the floor with our doctors while my kiddos were little. I have an 8-year-old daughter named Autumn and a 6-year-old son named Rowan with my husband. And then as they kind of transitioned into school age, I started to come back to the workforce in a full-time capacity and came back as a team lead in the Grand Rapids area and have since taken over Hastings and Grand Haven as well. So really just enjoying kind of like what Emily said, just being a working team lead on the floor, providing patient care, and just loving assisting my doctors, Dr. Bontomasi, Dr. Oberlin, Dr. Asarch, and PA Brittany Badiak. And for songs, I didn't have a specific one. I draw a lot of inspiration from just Hillsong worship music and kind of using that to kind of fuel my leadership bank, I guess you could say.
My absolute favorite group. It's on my playlist for sure. So great pick. There's not a bad song by Hillsong.
Oh my God. Yeah, I saw them in 2019 live. It was awesome.
Awesome. I love it. Samantha, last but not least of the team leads, tell us about yourself.
So I'm Samantha. I started with Premier in 2006. I started here when I was 19. I've been here all along. We merged with Forefront in 2015. I oversee Dr. Kelleher, Dr. Bazanis, Dr. Neubauer, Dr. McCluskey. Sorry, it's a long list of them. Dr. Camera, Dr. Awe, Vagani, Abbott, Kasansa, Bhattacharya, Marsh, and I help oversee Maddie and Megan, my PAs. Mainly I focus on cosmetics, but I've also been on the floor doing general dermatology and I've assisted in Mohs. I also help oversee our SkinCeuticals flagship. I help with our online orders and sending out product. And then I do Premier's social media and Dr. Kelleher's social media. When I'm not here, I'm at home with my family. And if we're not at home, we're either shopping or traveling to Disney. And my motivational song is Eye of the Tiger.
Oh, good one. That's on the hockey pump list before every hockey game. That's a great one for leaders. And it's good to know that Matt's not exactly the Superman we think he is. You're the genius behind the IG page. So kudos. Karen, Flug, you are going to take up the caboose. Tell us a little bit about who you are at Forefront and you personally.
Sure. Thanks, Betsy. So I've been at Forefront now a little over 6 years, and I have the fortune to work with all of these wonderful women and regional clinic managers in the field, all of our doctors, PAs, and NPs. I'm the liaison really between central services and our clinics, and I enjoy solving problems and trying to help everybody out and try and come up with solutions. Prior to Forefront, I was with Midwest Dental for about 11 years there, and I've got about 25 years of management experience, and 17 of those being in healthcare. In my free time, I live in western Wisconsin, so in my free time I go up north to our cabin and enjoy fishing and hiking and just being outside and relaxing on the lake. And I married my high school sweetheart. We've been married 28 years, and we have two beautiful girls. Mackenzie, my oldest, just finished her freshman year in college, which was a unique year with COVID. So hopefully this fall is going to be better. Things are opening up. And then my younger daughter is a junior in high school.
Awesome. And Karen just got a cool ragtop Jeep, so you'll see her flying around with the top down, sunscreen on. Glad to have you, Karen. All right, so now that we know everyone, let's dive into some questions about leading clinics in dermatology. Let's talk about approach, because really everything in life is how you approach things. You guys are in the middle, as I stated prior, of the doctors, and sometimes we're difficult, and the staff, and sometimes the staff is difficult. How do you balance the situation that can be tough? Wendy, why don't you take a stab at this?
So, Dr. Rowan, thank you. I like to approach the staff as so that they know that we're a team. Everybody in the clinic knows that I'm part of your team. I will not ask anybody in the clinic to do anything that I wouldn't do. I mean, Monday I was plunging clinics in the toilet. I mean, in the office I was plunging toilets. I think that it's important that everybody knows where you stand. I think if you make that clear from the beginning, you leave no room for question. I think that communication is very essential. So I'm a huge email person. I think that if you open that line of communication, you let people know where they are throughout the day. I also feel it's important that your providers, that you're supported by your providers, that you're here to support not only them, but your entire team.
That's a great answer. How about you, Jessica?
I do my best to keep an open door policy when leading my clinic, trying to keep lines of communication open with both staff and physicians is huge for me. Like after our weekly team lead meetings, I'll send out communications to the providers to still keep them up to date on any changes that may be coming that they are already aware of or unaware of. Regardless, I still send that out. Holding regular staff meetings, just any communication that I get, I try to give it out to my staff and my providers as soon as possible so that I don't forget and it gets lost in never land, which could happen. Also, just having a zero tolerance for toxicity has been huge for me. Kind of nipping anything in the bud as it comes is great, and has really helped, build our team. Relationships both inside and outside of work has been great. I think it's sometimes even easy to overlook difficult situations that could rock the boat. And so things sometimes get swept under the rug, but I try to steer clear of that. Like I said, zero tolerance for toxicity. If you see someone huffing and puffing, just say, hey, is everything all right? Sometimes just pointing it out to my staff or providers or even patients. Just letting them know, hey, I noticed something's going on. Is everything okay? Is there anything I can do for you? Sometimes they just need to get it off their chest and move on and everything is better. Prior to COVID, I was really proud of this. Our staff, they had great relationships. Well, we still do, but prior to COVID, we would have like monthly, sometimes monthly get-togethers outside of clinic. So it's really great to be able to work somewhere where our clinic and our just the staff and providers get along so great that we can meet outside of after a rough week for a drink or something. So
100%. I think that's setting the culture of the clinic, which clinics that have high staff turnover and unhappy staff, they just do not have the culture. And that starts with the leaders. I love what the two of you said about communication. Communication is so important, not keeping things inside, nipping it in the bud. And my direction to fellow doctors, PAs, and NPs is don't put it off on your team lead or your regional manager. If you notice something with a staff, don't go to your team lead. Ask that staff to come back in the break room and address it with them immediately. I think doing something immediately and communicating immediately is so very important. So great points, Jessica. What do you guys wish your doctors, speaking of doctors, PAs and NPs, knew or did differently to make your clinic run better? Samantha, why don't you take a shot at that?
So, in the 15 years I've been here, there are things that the doctors, would want to correct me on. However, they wouldn't come to me and correct me. They would go to my team lead and correct me. And when I came into the team lead role, I would then notice I was the middle person. So I would go back and correct my staff. And most of them would give me the answer, well, why didn't they just tell me? Why didn't they just correct me in the hall or pull me to the side? Because with 4 or 5 offices, I'm not always going to see that staff member that day. I might not see them until the next day or the following day. So staff sometimes would rather have the provider correct them right then and there so that they're not making the same mistake again for 2 or 3 days until we can get to them and talk to them.
And I think not addressing it immediately, let's face it, we're all afraid of confrontation, or maybe don't like confrontation. No one really likes confrontation. But when you pass the buck to someone else, your team lead or your regional manager as a doc P or NP, I think it escalates the issue to a bigger issue rather than just dealing with it. Then it can be a nonchalant, hey, I don't like that you did that, or hey, could you do this differently? And like you said, Samantha, it's nipped in the bud. So I think that's a great one for what docs need to hear. How about you, Crystal? You work with Peter and the crew up in Appleton. What do you wish Peter and Michelle knew?
I really wish they knew how to do a note from start to finish, just so they could better understand the flow in the office. Sometimes they can get frustrated when we're taking a little bit longer, but sometimes you have that really complicated patient and they have 80 different medications, and then they want you to draw labs, and we get further and further behind. It'd be nice if they understood our whole entire process from beginning to end.
Guilty. I need to too. So that's a great tip. Emily, how about you? What do you want the docs, PAs, and NPs to know?
Yeah, first I want to say I totally agree with Samantha and Crystal. They had great points that I didn't even think of. So those are really 2 great things that I agree with. Also, just remembering to try to put themselves in the nursing staff and receptionist shoes on a daily basis. It's so easy to get sucked into the business side of clinic and kind of forget the other aspects of clinic that are crucial for running a successful business and clinic day, like staff morale and how the staff is feeling, and just remembering that side of it too.
Great advice. Good tips, guys. So we do have a variety of staff, central service team members, and more listening at various stages in their careers. Some are just starting their leadership journeys and some are more seasoned. What would you tell your younger self about leading, maybe what you've learned and what you'd do differently? Rebecca, how about you?
Yeah, I love this question. I feel like the biggest thing that I've learned over my years is that you catch more flies with honey than with vinegar. So the way I interpret that is, I think when I first kind of moved into leadership, out of a desire for maybe efficiency or, let's deal with this and get on to the next thing, I wasn't really kind of thinking through how I was being perceived or how, the other person was receiving maybe a shorter answer or a shorter directive. So just kind of really trying to focus on my communication style and inviting other people into how do we solve this problem together, and seeing how to incentivize just like really great communication so that we can get that awesome patient care and enjoy our day with each other and yeah.
That's a great tip. So Jessica, take a swing at this one.
I think for me, I would have to tell myself to stop sweating the small stuff. I've learned that there are just some things that you're are out of your control, or you're going to mess up, and that's okay. When I first started in a leadership position, which was team lead at Forefront, I was a very black and white leader. Like, it was either right or it was either wrong, and there was no in between. And I think for me, just over the years, learning to be flexible, learning that although someone may do something a different way than you do it, as long as it's correct, it adheres to our policy as far as, like, you know, whatever they're doing, it adheres to what needs to be done, and it gets done correctly. However they take to get there, it doesn't matter as long as it's done and it's done right. I'd also tell myself, as I said, that, you know, it's okay to make mistakes. I used to get caught up on making mistakes. I used to hang on to them and, like, let them ruin my day, sometimes my week. And looking back, I kind of laugh at that. You know, I'm human. I'm still going to make mistakes, and it's okay. Just, you have to let it go, learn from it and let it go.
Wonderful. Karen, why don't you take a swing at this one? Because you're the most seasoned leader in healthcare here.
The oldest too, I think. So I'm an 80s girl, so you can say that, Betsy. First thing I would say is, you know, don't have any regrets and say, I wish I would have done that. And so don't leave anything on the table. Go out and try to accomplish everything that you want to, and set goals for yourself. Because that's the best way to accomplish something and get there, is by having goals that are reachable. And then second of all, you know, don't be afraid to ask for help. And you don't have to go after it alone. It's okay to ask for help, because you're not expected to know everything. So don't be shy about that, and ask others to assist or help with something along the way. I'd also say, you know, one of the things to remember and put at the forefront is always say thank you. And show appreciation for your colleagues and your staff and coworkers. You know, sometimes you get so busy in the day-to-day, and, you know, you get distracted and you forget to say thank you or show that appreciation. And that's on the job, and it's at home. And I have to remind myself, even at home, if I'm you know, been gone traveling, and I need to show more appreciation to my husband and my kids for taking care of the house while I'm out. So, you know, kind of a life lesson there, as well as work and at home.
Those are great tips. Now, next question. Name 2 to 3 things you do daily that make you a better leader. Wendy, you hit this first.
So I really try to get in the right headspace before I get to the office. Typically when you walk in the door, that's when you get hit with things. So I definitely try to start each day out with prayer for guidance and wisdom. A cup of coffee is very important. And then some good music on the way to work.
Doesn't get any better than that. I love it. Rebecca, how about you?
Yeah, I second Wendy's cup of coffee. I can't do much without that in the morning. But yeah, when I was thinking through this question, the things that came to mind were intentionality. I really like to come in and show my staff and my providers that, you know, I care about them. I think that they care about me, and, you know, make sure I'm touching base with them, saying hi, you know, remembering if anybody's going through a big life event or has had an engagement or anything like that, and touching base and just asking questions and making sure that we kind of foster that that relationship between each other in the clinic. The other thing is, I really like to get my hands dirty. I don't ever want to be seen as a leader that kind of calls the shots from the sidelines. I like to be seen as someone who is willing to, you know, drop what they're doing if someone needs help, and run out there and do everything I can to be a part and roll my sleeves right up alongside them. And then I think, you know, I heard some others kind of touch on this, just owning when, you know, we're human and we make mistakes too. Just showing that behavior is something then that I can feel like I can also then request that from my staff to kind of emulate. So if you see me doing it, then I think they're much more likely to want to join in and mirror that behavior.
100%. I always call that the general intense leadership. You know, the general is up there in the same tents fighting with the soldiers, and that's the approach I like to take every day. As a doc, whether that means cleaning the surgical tray, if the nurse seems busy, wiping the chairs down with cabbie wipes, there's no job that's above you. So I love that. Let's switch gears a little bit. How do you guys motivate the entire team and individuals? Jessica, why don't you take a swing at that?
It's simple for me. I just treat them with respect, be fair, and encourage autonomy.
Perfect. Emily, what about you?
I show appreciation. I try to have monthly team meetings and bring attention to employees who have shown outstanding performance. I also try to plan fun things and events for our office. COVID kind of put a damper on that this past year, but we're hoping to do some more fun things this year. I also try to be as hands-on and valuable for my receptionists and nurses as I expect them to be for me. So if reception needs help, I'm getting on the phone and working on reschedules and checking patients in, scanning consent forms. And if my nurses need help, I'm coming to the floor and I'm pulling patients back. And if one of my physicians or staff members needs me in my satellite office, I will get to a stopping point and head to that office and help out there. So just like you said, I like that term, the general in the tent mentality. I really I pride myself in trying to be that for my team.
Awesome. How about you, Samantha?
So I'll ask like the provider or the providers to help. Depending on the team and what our goal is, there'll be a reward. So, with SkinCeuticals, it's, hey, let's sell X number of products. If we meet the goal, then we'll get lunch that day, or it's coffee the next morning. If it's an entire office thing, with COVID, I had asked the doctors, can we do Cinco de Mayo lunch? I will find someone to bring the food, box it up. I'm just asking you guys for help. And, the providers, when the staff know that it's from the providers, they love it. They feel appreciated. They don't just feel like, oh, I'm going to work to do my job and I'm not being appreciated. So it's the little gifts that help kind of keep them going. And it's not even that they expect it. So it's just completely at random times throughout the year that will suggest something.
That's great. I always talk about the book of the 5 love languages. I love reading like the kid one. There's an adolescent version. There's a spouse one, because everyone has, 1 or 2 of the 5 love languages that really make them tick. And little known, there's a corporate 5 love languages books. And I think it's fascinating. And I find that each of my staff or nurses or MAs, they all have a love language. And I try to speak that to them every day. Some like compliments, some like gifts, etc. And some need more personal interest in their lives. Crystal, how do you handle this challenge of everyone having a different love language in clinic?
Yeah, it's definitely a struggle sometimes because there's so many different personalities you're dealing with, and you just got to learn what each of their, what makes them tick. The better I know my staff, it's easier for you to figure out what motivates them. Some of them, they're really all about getting out on time, or, even 15 minutes earlier. That's what motivates them, or giving them positive affirmations, setting daily goals. I think that's really important too. So yeah, it's definitely, you got to learn what every person in your office, what their motivation is.
100%. What about you, Samantha?
So just like you said about the 5 love languages, I didn't read the corporate one, but good to know there is one. I actually look at all my team members as the love language book. So we were talking about it one day in the pharmacy, and the ones that haven't taken it, I was like, well, you should take it, just to get to know yourself. And then a few days later, I followed up with them on their results. So I get to know their personality, who is the person that wants gifts, who needs the words of affirmation, who just kind of needs support or needs someone to talk to. And it's interesting because majority of my girls kind of all rank within the same 3 things. So that helps. And then I take that information and I communicate it with the provider, like, hey, they did a really great job. Can you say thank you? Or so-and-so had something going on, why don't you go ask them how they're doing?
That's great.
I think that's another example or a good lesson for our support service staff and for the regional clinic managers as they're talking with the doctors, PAs, and NPs. And, understanding and knowing each doctor and what they would like to see. Some want a lot more hands-on and more information and reporting and data, and others just want you to stop in and, pay attention to them and see how things are going. So you almost have to be a different person for every doctor or PA or NP, depending upon what their needs are.
That's amazing input, Karen, because everyone is different. And, you know, those who have spouses or kids, you should read this book because it'll shock you. And one thing I think everyone should know is that you usually deliver your love language to other people. So my love language is acts of service. I just want you to do stuff, get stuff done for me. And that's how you show you appreciate me, love me. And that works out really well in my clinic because my staff, you know, they just do stuff for me all the time and they make the magic happen in clinic. But I do things for someone or my staff member or my husband, and it just might not connect as much because they need words of affirmation. So take note of yourself. What you like is not what you should deliver. So these are all really good tips to think about. Let's talk about tools and metrics to measure success or to use as a team lead. Crystal, you know, you're training the team leads. What do you use?
Yeah, I use a lot of the data surrounding us to help, you know, like reviewing our punches in TimeStar, running those reports at the end of payroll, making sure, you know, we're trying to stay under, you know, our hours for the pay period, patient volumes, you know, patient feedback, observations in the clinic, you know, if it's a slower day and I know we don't want to cut hours, but, you know, to kind of save on overhead, we kind of let some staff leave early and they usually appreciate it anyhow. And it usually just can really help drive the performance and build stronger team members and set up for a more productive day.
100%. How about Samantha?
I'm more of a live and learn person. So if a situation arises or I'm kind of stumped with something, first I'll think, okay, what would my RCM do? Or what would my provider do? And if I still can't figure out what to do, then I'll just go up to them and be like, okay, I'm in a situation. What would you do? Guide me through it. I'll try it. And if not, then I'll come get you and have you help handle the situation.
I love it. So we have a data-driven person, Crystal. We have someone that's going to use the humans with experience. I love it. Rebecca, what about you?
Yeah, I'd say maybe I'm in the middle of those two. I think I love metrics and data and being able to see, you know, change and how actions affect things in the clinic. I think I'm also a little more touchy-feely, so I like to kind of maybe take people's temperatures kind of emotionally and relationally and kind of learn from that. So as you kind of traverse a situation and then see afterwards, you know, how that person's mood or demeanor changed on how you brought yourself to that situation. I learn a lot from that. And then kind of mirroring what some of the other gals have said, just observing and learning from my providers, my RCMs, and just really trying to pull from those who have wisdom all around me.
That's awesome. We've talked a lot about what we do to motivate others or what motivates others in our clinics. What motivates you ladies? Jessica, how about you?
For me, it's definitely results. I am a very much keep your eye on the prize person. You know, Karen touched on it earlier, setting goals for yourself and making sure they're attainable is huge. Especially for me, you know, when I started in this position or even with the company, you know, I was in school full time. I had a very young child. I was working full time. And so, you know, just keeping, despite all of that was, you know, going on and I was working and what have you, you know, just keeping your eye on the prize, taking a deep breath and remembering what you're doing it all for was huge. And so to be able to look back on all the blood, sweat, and tears and see where I am, you know, being able to grow in my career, it's the results for me.
Awesome. How about you, Emily?
Mine's going to sound a little cheesy, but honestly, just doing good by people motivates me. I would never want my name to be associated with a negative feeling or thought like that. I think most of us have probably felt towards past managers or supervisors in our time. Being able to just lay my head down at night and know that I had pure intentions for the day and did the best I could for my staff, and just trying to be a good example of a woman and a leader for my staff and my girls.
That's great. What do you think is the best part of being a leader, specifically a team lead at Forefront? Samantha?
I would say being able to step away and the office not falling apart. If I can step away for a day and my phone is not ringing, I'm not receiving 1,000,001 emails, and the providers aren't frustrated because the day is running smoothly, I know I've done my job as a leader. We're with our staff 5, 6 days out of the week. So if we stepped away for one day, we should have enough trust in them that they can run and help function the office without us.
100%. How about you, Wendy?
So I think the best part for me about being a leader is being able to make a difference. I like to watch people succeed, and I like to know that I was part of that, the encouragement from that. I do think it's very important that everybody loves what they do. I love my job, and so I think it's important that everybody loves their job. And if you don't, then we need to find out why you don't. And I think that if you just seeing people rewarded for doing a really good job is important to me.
Definitely. Jessica, what about how the doctors can make you feel appreciated?
Well, for me, there are several. I've worked in most of the Missouri and Southern Illinois clinics, or O'Fallon, Illinois clinic, and we have a region of wonderful doctors. And I guess I'm partial because I work with my doctors most often, but I feel truly that I work with the best doctors. So there have been several instances where they make our staff feel appreciated. They'll buy us lunch. Most recently, they bought the entire staff a set of scrubs just because they wanted to. So for me, though, most recently, I think it was probably when I found out that I had been nominated for the Excellence Leadership Award, Forefront Excellence Leadership Award. I might get emotional talking about it. It was huge. I had no idea that I had even been nominated, and then to find out that I was chosen as the recipient for this award, you just show up and you do what you need to do to get done. Someone else touched on it earlier as far as, someone's out in clinic, you need to go back and help with patients. Someone is out at the front, you check patients in, or they need help, you just jump in and do what needs to be done. And for me, that's my job. That's what I'm there for. That's what I'm doing. But to receive that letter of recommendation that they had submitted for me, specifically Dr. Schutte and Dr. Effelman, for them to know, or for me to know, I guess, not them to know, but for me to know that they recognize that what I'm doing, they appreciate was very important to me, and very appreciated. And I am so incredibly proud to just work for a great set of doctors that not only provide excellent patient care, but also provide a wonderful work environment for their staff.
That's great. Congratulations. We're super proud to have you with us.
Thank
How
you.
about you, Rebecca? How can the doctors, PAs, and NPs make you feel appreciated?
Yeah, I just love hearing Jessica's story, because I feel like I can really have a lot of those, the aspects of her story resonate for me with my relationship with my providers. I feel like just those verbal, I'm probably a words of affirmation person now that we're talking about these 5 love languages, but just all the times over, the last year and a half, COVID, me taking over some other clinics, kind of growing into that leadership role, I feel like I've just been so blessed to have the providers that I work for, and just the times that they've taken out of their busy schedule to just touch base with me, offer to, get their hands dirty and try to enact any changes that I feel like, are needed for my professional development or happiness in this position. So just showing that personal aspect of that I am integral to their day, and then knowing that it's reciprocated, that they're integral to my day.
Awesome. How about how physicians, PAs, and NPs can lead the team? You guys are leading the staff, and we've talked a lot about that. But Wendy, tell us how you think physicians, PAs, and NPs can better lead the team.
I think that first and foremost, it's important to have them a supporting relationship between the team lead and the providers in the office. I think if your staff sees that you have that great relationship, I think that opens up a whole nother door for you all, for your providers to be able to stand up as leaders. It's important as a team lead, I feel like, when you make a decision, to know that you have the support of your providers as well. And I think that just knowing that you have that makes your job a little bit easier.
100%. How about you, Jessica? Advice to the docs?
Just to be present, attend staff meetings, communicate with staff, provide feedback to learn from mistakes. I know someone already touched on that, but just encouraging them and, correcting them if need be. Again, talking about Dr. Schutte and Dr. Uffelman, at the start of the pandemic, they took a trip before it became like a huge thing, or before it was in the United States, COVID. And they kind of recognized everything that was going on a little bit ahead of the game. And they were providing feedback to me saying, hey, this is coming. We don't want to sound like doomsday preppers. That's like an actual quote. But please stock up on all of these supplies, because we're going to need them. And it actually ended up helping out hugely in our clinic. We were one of the most prepared clinics in Missouri. People were looking for this or that, and, hey, we have it. Do you need it? It was nice to be able to provide that. And thanks to the communication of our providers.
That's awesome. Karen, I think this is a good one for you to answer. How do you think the doctors, PAs, and NPs can step up and be leaders?
Thanks, Betsy. I think one of the most common things that I see from our clinicians is that they don't set expectations for their staff. And, many times they expect the staff to read their minds on how they want their room set up, or, their workflows. And so the staff are always guessing or trying to deliver on an unknown. So again, if the doctors could take the time to say, it's an education process. So it's, here's how I'd like the room set, here's the workflows, here's how, I want the patient care to be delivered. So now the staff have an understanding of what they're being measured against. And when a staff member is maybe not meeting expectations, now the doctor can redirect or have them go down a different path and re-educate. And it doesn't have to be a negative conversation. And I always say, you don't have to be mean to mean what you say. It can be a training or an education and learning so that they do it better the next time. And, I'd also say that, again, all staff members, they want to do a good job. They want to please their doctors. But they can't please them if they're constantly guessing on what that doctor wants. And, the other thing I would say is when I heard it through the ladies here is, the appreciation and thank you. So at the end of the day, again, everybody's busy, but if a doctor could pull the staff aside and say, we had a great day today. We saw a lot of patients, and I couldn't have done it without you. So just a little bit of, the reminders for the physicians to show that appreciation and verbalize it with the team. It's a much more comfortable and happy work environment. And I always use the golden rule of treating others as you would want to be treated, and, remind our clinicians of that as well.
That's awesome. I just want to add mine. I think for doctors, and I'm constantly breaking and refining my approach to my staff based on what works and what didn't work, etc. But I would encourage everyone to look at the 5 love languages, know what your love language is, and know what each of your staff's love language is, and communicate to their love language, not what you want for yourself. So use your staff's love language. And I think discipline, but be easy on your staff. Realize how hard our staff are working. Pick up things, maybe fix notes, do things maybe on your own without throwing everything back at your staff, and communicate with them. Don't leave it up to someone else, your team lead, your regional manager. Nip it in the bud. I think someone said earlier, address an issue when it's hot, because then it doesn't become escalated or a bigger deal. And I encourage everyone, we started doing this in the Manitowoc Clinic, to huddle every morning. And I think that allows you to speak a love language to your staff, to communicate, to figure out what you're expecting for the day, and maybe put out some fires before they start. And it just takes about 2 minutes every morning. So those are my tips and tricks that I'm trying to implement in my clinic. Well, ladies, this has been wonderful. I appreciate all of you taking the time to talk to us and to talk to all of Forefront and beyond about becoming better leaders and leading our staff, our doctors, our PAs to success, so that in the end we can provide the best patient care ever. We always end the Forefront 5 with 5 key takeaways, but today we're leaving with more than that because we have more than 5 guests. So I want each of you to tell me, for the ending of the Forefront 5, who you look up to most as a leader, and what you want to emulate in them. So Wendy, you're going to start.
So my person I chose is my husband. He holds a management position, has for years with his job. And over the years, I've been able to just kind of listen to him talk to his staff. And he has encouraged me as well to be a better leader. He talks about respect and how you have to just kind of listen. So I listen to how he communicates, and I take that in, the patience that he expresses. The second thing would be objectively thinking. He's taught me so quick not to make this quick decision, to take a step back and kind of reassess the situation and then move forward from there. And then the third would be encouragement, to encourage the staff to step up and for everybody to be a leader within the clinic. Just because you have a team lead position doesn't mean you can be the only leader in the clinic. So just encouraging other people to be a leader as well.
That's great. He sounds like an amazing guy, Wendy. Jessica, you're up to bat.
For me, it's our RCM, Shelly Meyer. Shelly is someone who always has an open door policy. She's someone that I can call at any time, literally, no matter what's going on. I can call her with any problem that I'm facing, any question that I have, and she never makes me feel like there is a time that she doesn't have time for me, even though I'm sure there's a long list of things she's got going on. So I don't know that she knows this, but she has had such a positive impact on me professionally and personally. I just strive to be a leader like her. There are not enough good things that I can tell you about Shelly, but humility, her confidence, and just compassion are things that I wish to emulate.
That's wonderful and great to have someone within Forefront, Jessica.
Yes.
How about you, Crystal?
Mine's my RCM too, Kelly Geenan. She's somebody that I've worked with she's been with me since I started. I can always go to her when I need help with anything, get feedback. She'll offer me a different perspective. She's always, like you said, Jessica, she's always has that open door policy. I can call her, text her anytime, and she's there for me both professionally and personally. And she's always able to multitask. Kelly, that's Dr. Wernley, you know how busy Kelly is. She just never gets frazzled, and she just has so much on her plate, but she always makes time for us.
She's a rock star, and she's a master at creating relationships that are appropriate for work and outside of work. She just extends across all venues. So I think that's a great pick. How about you, Emily?
Mine is definitely my RCM, Tiffany Hattimer. She has given me the skills and confidence I needed to perform this job because this was and is my first management role. Majority of the skills I have learned and implement on a daily basis are from her teaching. When I first met Tiffany, she said something that will always stick with me. And I was so impressed by it. She said, we're at work more than we are with our family most of the time. Why would we not want to make it the most enjoyable place to be? So with Tiffany, I've never had a manager who was so kind and approachable, yet so professional and respectable at the same time. Just to kind of bounce off what other people were saying. She, even this week, she dropped what she was doing and she came to our clinic when she had like 5 other clinics to be at 3 times this week because we had like a staffing situation and little short staffed, and she'll just drop whatever she's doing to help me out. And I know I can always count on her. So it means a lot. So I try to emulate all of that about her. I try to do that on a daily basis. She's taught me a lot and I appreciate her more than she knows.
That's awesome, Emily. How about you, Samantha?
When you asked that question, there were 2 people that came to mind. Of course, Dr. Kelleher, because I always wanted to be like him. However, my RCM, Jeannie McKenna. Jean was my team lead when I started at Premier, and she was the one that trained me to be hands-on. Just like everyone has said, super approachable. We're, friends outside of work, but still my leader here in work. The main thing Jean has taught and coming into a team lead role is you can't personalize everything. So she's taught me that very well. And the other thing that I wish I could emulate from her is delegation. I am horrible at delegating. So that is the one thing that I kind of strive to be like. I mean, she's always there for me when I need her. She runs, I think, oversees 16 different clinics, but I can call her and ask her a question and she'll answer my call or get back to me with an answer as soon as possible.
Awesome. All of these RCMs are rock stars. Rebecca, tell us who you emulate as a leader.
Yeah, I guess I'm going to be in the doghouse with my RCM. I didn't choose him, but I do love him and appreciate so much of the leadership that he has provided. Josh, thank you so much for all of that. Yeah, so what I was thinking of to this question is, it's kind of an interesting, odd choice maybe, but my husband and I have watched through the miniseries Band of Brothers multiple times. It's kind of a yearly thing for us. So I don't know if anyone else has watched that, but Major Dick Winters is always someone that when I watch through that, I'm just in awe of the leader that he was in those, awful, crazy situations of war. So, I pull from some quotes that were in that miniseries that he said. So if you're a leader, you lead the way, not just on the easy ones, but you take the hard ones too. And then you never put yourself in a position where you can ever take from someone you're leading. So I really draw from the humility and like just the respect that I think that he showed to his fellow soldiers, and I learned a lot from that.
It's the general intense philosophy.
I know.
It fits right in. It fits right in. I don't think Josh would say he's above your pick. So I think you're safe. Karen, why don't you end who you chose?
Sure, thanks, Betsy. And I'd have to say it's my dad. My dad taught me, a good work ethic and that hard work pays off. And I'm going to date myself, but my dad owned and managed a Sears catalog business and appliance store. So back in the day, prior to Amazon, people would order through catalogs and they shipped them to my dad's store. And so I started working for him when I was 10 years old. We'd go down to the store before school, and I'd be unloading the packages and putting them away. And eventually I grew into roles of being the bookkeeper for the business and also helping customers. So, I learned how to interact and talk with adults at a young age because I had to, and I enjoyed it. And, my dad also would say, there's never time to sit around. There should never be a slow, a dull moment. And, there's always TVs to dust, or there's always appliances to polish, or floors to be swept. So he never wanted me just sitting around, and he said, lead by example so that others would follow. And so I've tried to instill some of those same behaviors in my girls today. And again, hopefully they emulate what I do and the team does as well.
I think that should be a new quote for the clinics that you ladies use. Hey, there's always TVs to be dusted. Get to work. Stop holding up the counter. That's what we always say. Well, I must say, I am very proud to have women like you on my team, Team Forefront. I think it's very clear why you were chosen for this podcast. You're all exceptional women. You're exceptional leaders, and we're so blessed to have you a part of the Team Forefront. So thank you to each and every one of you. Keep leading, keep striving, keep growing. This has been another episode of the Forefront 5. Thanks to our listeners, and we will close with a playlist of some of the songs chosen by our team leads. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, ladies. Great job.
Thank you.